Alright guys, we're here with Alan Ginter, number 3. So I appreciate y'all being patient with me with Halloween. Hopefully you guys had a good Halloween. This is the wrong break. Hold on one second. I'll switch the titles on it. That's on me. It's supposed to be Alan Ginter, number 3, guys. Give me one second. Definitely typed in the wrong titles, but I can edit those. Facebook. The title's changed on that. So sorry about that. I'll change the title on the YouTube video too. My bad, guys. Copied and pasted the wrong thing while I was trying to run the random for the mixture team that filled up. Let me switch the title here into the YouTube studio. Twitter's just screwed. If you watch on Twitter, my apologies. You're just gonna have to. If you're on the you're on Twitter, I don't know how to switch it from Twitter until after the video is done. But here's a link to the YouTube video. Hey. All right, let's get rolling. Sorry about that, just having to switch the titles there, guys. I apologize. But I think we're ready to roll. We got a man, Cowardman Jr. here, Project 2020. Ben Body to the card, give a nice rub on all 12 of the boxes on the Alan Ginter. Teamless on the right, over at camera bottom left-hand corner. We'll get rolling here. So I kind of mentioned that I wasn't going to have any Star Wars Galaxy Chrome. Well, I ended up getting my hands on a few cases, so we'll run that tomorrow too. Probably do it based on price-wise in half case increments. I'm thinking it's gonna be random letters. Is probably how we're gonna roll. I gotta really dive into the checklist tomorrow morning. I didn't think I was gonna have any, so I didn't dive into the checklist because why would I do extra work? But yeah, we'll roll with that. If anybody's looking for any Surging Sparks or any of the Japanese Electric Breaker or Laguna that came out, Lagana, however you say it, that came out last couple weeks, Japanese, let me know. We obviously have some. I was going to say, started getting the Japanese. The art's pretty decent. I'll show it to you real quick while I let everybody get in here. Some of the little rares from what will be part of Surging Sparks, but this is obviously going to be Japanese cards. So Surging Sparks hasn't come out yet. I'm going to say it's not going to focus, but here's like one of the SARs that's in. It's going to be in Surging Sparks. If anybody needs any Pokemon of the new set that comes out with the big Pikachu chase, let me know. I'm sure I can give you a good price. Let's get rolling into Alan and Ginter. Also, if anybody wants any personals of Allen and Ginter, please let me know. Also can make that happen. Sealed or ripped on camera. We have Bobby Witt Jr. here for the Royals. It's the first box topper. Also, let me know if you want your veteran base or not. The Pokemon or Allen and Ginter? $130 shipped. If you want to come and grab Robbie, I can do it for $125. You're going to come to the shop and pick it up, or if you want to grab a sealed box for yourself to open. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to ship it, but to you, because you're going to come and grab it regardless. I was just more saying for anybody else that's in the chat, since you asked the price. That way nobody's like, oh, he said 125. No, 130 shipped. 125 if you're going to come and pick it up locally. Can also grab it. I believe it should be on our website too if you want to, for whatever reason you want to do a shop pay and do, I think they allow you like a 4 or 3 payments interest free type of thing if you qualify for it. That goes for any of the more expensive products if I end up getting enough for personals. I know the next like really expensive product that comes out is Gilded Collection, and I definitely won't have enough for personals or whatever else unless they give me more cases. They only give me 2 cases, which is not a bad amount of Gilded Collection, but it's not that much if you're talking about how much we broke last year. I think last year I got like 7 cases of it, so not that we broke it just straight cases. We obviously had it in mixers and whatever else. Let's get rolling here. We're gonna have the camera not wanting to focus tonight. Lazy camera. I wonder if it's like the angle that I'm at or something, because there we go. All right. My man Breckenridge to start us off. CES. Nice Friedel on the silver. Toily. Definitely gonna have to get up and get top pullers, I'm pretty sure. Guess they worked through the case doing the last couple breaks plus Leaf yesterday. It's kind of did post the second half of the Leaf. The Leaf overall, man, there's so many autographs in the Leaf metal. I'm surprised we're not filling it quicker. We have 19 out of 50 Owen White on the gold Toily. That's going to go to the Rangers. And Sean Swartz, obviously looking for maybe one of the bigger dogs for the Rangers, but I'm assuming Owen White could be part of their starting rotation. I didn't really watch them enough to know how good or bad Owen White is. Just know he's in a lot of product. We got Mookie Betts, going to go to Dodgers, World Series champions, obviously won last night. Didn't even rub it in any of the Yankees fans' faces. That's just a fucking shitty way to lose. It's one thing if you get beat. It's another thing you get beat and the team beats themselves. We have Jeremy Pena for the Astros. That's going to go to Stanley. The Schwartz brothers tagging in. Got Kansas on the mini cards. Man, the mini cards are tough. Like, I understand that's like an Allen Ginter thing of this old product, but I really wish that just the mini cards, they would just get rid of them. Like, it's cool that the autographs and the memorabilia, like, that's a cool aspect that we've got Shiano on the refractor. I mean, it's not the first error of his career. I think it's the first error of his career in center field. I'm sure he's made some other errors. I could be wrong on that, too. Because he is definitely like a Gold Glove caliber fielder. I know everybody wants to blame Cole for not covering first base. I thought Anthony Rizzo fielded that ground ball as lazy as could be, to be honest. And maybe Rizzo's like hurt or something. I didn't know about it because I know Freeman was like banged up and wasn't like not really mobile. But yes, should Cole have covered 100%? But I also feel like there's no reason that Rizzo shouldn't have been able to get over there. Because I'm not sure that Cole would have beat Mookie Betts to the bag anyways, to be honest. Because Mookie Betts was hauling ass. We have Andrew Abbott for the Reds. I obviously was breaking and going to Aaron Kritz. Obviously, I was breaking, so I missed it. Like, that actual play. I had the sound off. I just realized that it was like 5-2 or 5-3 all of a sudden. I just figured that Cole got lit up, and then I saw the judge error. Like in between innings when they did highlights of him dropping the ball. But nobody really was informing me of like exactly what was going on while we were breaking, so I didn't even realize it was like a Garrett Cole miss. Didn't cover first base until I got back. Yeah, Brian Wu. There is obviously another Allen and Ginter. Pick your team up. I think it is like halfway filled. We have Mike Trout. Told you guys I got nine cases total. Well, 10 cases total. 1 for the shop, 9 for breaking, and then obviously we broke 1 on Fanatics Live. There's 1 that's on Fanatics Live that I think has like 6 or 7 teams taken, which I'll probably actually push pretty hard in the group maybe tomorrow to see if we can get it filled for Rodney. And I'll tell you guys, if you go in there, you guys can get some discounts if you're a part of the group. We have Tristan Casas. The prices are the exact same. So essentially I would probably do like $10 a team or something like that. That way you really get $5 off because it's $5 shipping on there. And I think you have to pay tax no matter where you're at, unless you're like in Delaware, one of the states you don't have to pay tax because Fanatics operates all over the country, so they have to charge tax to everybody. I did find out sales tax wise, I don't have to charge tax and breaks. Still at least for next year because they haven't switched the services code, so that'll be nice. I have 1 oversized box topper. Oh, baby. What I've always wanted. The cheeseburger. Baseball bite's going to go to the non-sports spot. On the box topper. I don't remember them doing box toppers with non-players in previous years. Maybe they did and I just completely whiffed on it. But looks like we can get that special box. We got Woo and a Doggo. A black border. Minus like too many dogs this year. And too many dogs, and like that's the main subset is the dogs. I thought they could have had a little bit of a better subset. I actually think the Allen and Ginter this year has been pretty decent. The quality's been good. We have A.J. Smith-Sauver on the refractor. We have Babe Ruth on the mini card. I thought some of the side themes are pretty good. We have Shiano. Obviously, it's a superior rookie class to like anything we've seen last couple years. I mean, I don't know if you'll ever see a rookie class like this again in the next like decade. Got Juan Soto. You have at least one guy that could be maybe 2 guys that could be perennial Cy Young contenders. Maybe 3, actually 3 guys. We have Marte. We got a B. If you count Yamamoto and Imanaga. Plus, obviously, I know you guys know that I'm talking about Skeens. And then you have, like, Ellie is just so electric. You have Jackson Merrill, who, assuming he's going to develop the way you would assume that a guy of his talent would. Let's say he keeps developing and ends up being an elite center fielder. Yeah, the X-ray cards are, like, cool. I just think there's not a big enough... It's not a big enough of them in a subset, in my opinion, but... It's definitely a decent idea. We're going to have Reggie Jackson and the Bees. Vladdy Jr. on the Chrome, and then we're going to have that Dwarf Moose. Sean from Boy Meets World. We have Shiano, another dog. And then Darvish on the black border mini card. Oklahoma. Yeah, Palmer. But yeah, back to the Star Wars real quick. Hopefully we can get some fills with the Star Wars Galaxy. Star Wars Chrome this year took off and we couldn't barely... I mean, we did get a couple cases. We did get like a case filled on Luke, but we had a lot of trouble getting cases filled of that stuff. And that stuff blew up price-wise. We have the Bees, antenna. Jackie Robinson. Taylor, black border, Moncada. Another doggo. Miss P. We have Royce Lewis. Mini card of Tanzania. Cole. It stinks too because Garrett Cole really did like pitch his ass off yesterday too. We got George Brett. Got Nola. The real question now is where does Juan Soto go? Does he go back to the Yankees, Ohtani, and another doggo? Or does he go elsewhere? Because I thought the Yankees were going to sign him in season long term. And that didn't happen, so. Alright, let's get rolling. We have Larry Walker, Aldean Smith, Webb, Drury. We have Lawler, Strong, Swift, Christian Walker, Martinez, Dominguez, Kershaw. We have Polanco, Breckenridge, Steinkampf, Dickey, Jones, Casas, Jackson Merrill on the foil. These are both pretty. All rookies with the foil will get top loaded, but I'll put those ones in particular. Pages, Bryant to the side, Castellanos, Seager, Springer, Kid Leroy, Rivera, Ichiro, McLean, Chisholm Jr., LeMahieu, Leiter, Sar, Jimenez, and Dave Winfield. Altuve, Metro Booming, Johnson, Rojas, Mead, Barry Larkin for the Reds on the bat memorabilia. I'm happy that random filled too. I was surprised it was taking so long. I thought it was. I know the price was a little bit higher than most randoms we run, but I thought that combo boxes was really good. We got Snell, Siri, Guerrero Jr., Mookie Betts, Mountcastle, Clase, Taxic, Musial, Gehrig, Kierstad, Manzardo, Ruth, Arozarena, Evaldi, Buxton, Alonso, Garcia, Holiday, Guilford, Santander, Henderson, Swanson, Fenson, Bolt, Dave Parker, Mays, Marte, and Eric Davis. I really do think Jackson Holiday has a ridiculous year next year, too. At the back end of the year, he really showed some glimpse of actually being like the super talented player everyone thought he was. We have Murphy, Robinson, Thomas, Senga, Gore, Molitor, Probst, Olson, Raggins, Paul Skeens. Got Diaz, Seaver, Lewis, Wynn, Mantle, Cowser, Wu. Oh, we have the Trey Turner rip card for the Philadelphia Phillies. We can go to Rob Davenport, which I don't know if he's watching. I was like, if you want to rip it on camera, let me know. If not, we'll just send it to you. We have McCutchen, Rebello, Gore, and Olsen. Eddie Rodriguez on the autograph. So first two boxes, two autos. Don't hate that. Going to Jason and the Pirates. We have Herbeck, Soder, Florence, Ramirez, Valdez, Raggins, List, Whitmore, Rooker, Soler, Wynn, Cowser, LeMayu, Friedel, Kinlan, Hunter, Wu, Sosa, Maddox, Griffey Jr., Nolan Jones, got Lawler, Anderson, Martin, Daly, Tatis Jr., Van Kirk, Dominguez, Kenlin, Sosa, Mauer, Williams, Otani, Bichette, Nola, Chuck Norris, Carew, Montgomery, Gibson, and Patrick Bailey. That's going to be box 2. Let's get into the third box here. We got an N43 box topper. Harmon Killebrew for the Twins. For Matt Rogg. Sometimes I'm not sure if Fanatics thinks about like release dates either. Like, I get that like Allen and Ginter had to be released, but to release it like the day before Halloween is a little goofy to me. Like, it almost makes it to where the second day of the release is not going to be great. Because how many parents, how many people are doing things for Halloween? I know there's even like some adults in my neighborhood, at least, that all gather and like drink or whatever. And I mean, obviously they're handing out candy, but this doesn't make a lot of sense to me sometimes. I feel like they're a little tone deaf every once in a while. I mean, obviously they're not basing their releases off of breaking, but we're going to have Swift, Breckenridge, Caminero, Williams, Gamora, Greg Maddux. You have the black border man Zardo there. Good old Jason Aldean. Ladies love that man. We can get another auto. We got R.A. Dickey. We're not getting an autograph, but we're getting a 1-on-1 printing plate. Cody Bellinger for the Cubbies. The Cubbies have been hot. That's going to go to Ben Cudia. Nice hit, man, on the printing plate Bellinger. Yeah, Stargell, second 1-on-1 in 3 cases. That's pretty dope. Yeah, Skeens. Sandy Koufax. Oh, the lavender. Gotta love it. Hold on, let me hang this up over in the shop here so it doesn't smell like a hot bag of ass. You get 3 young 20-year-olds in shop, man. I don't know what they do fucking in here sometimes. Just fucking around. We have Gleyber Torres for the Yankees. I'm joking. We're going to have Babe Ruth. Hang that up in your car, man. It's a big hit right there for the non-sports and Ryan Mercer. Got yourself a new air freshener in the car, boy. Just give that a little scratch. Get that nice lavender scent for the ladies. Chorizo. Oh, yeah. There we go. The Royals, we got Nick Lofton on the refractor. Satchel Paige. Just so everyone knows, too, Satchel Paige always goes to the Orioles. Like, that team was bought, the Negro League team he played for is actually bought by the O's, so he's technically part of the Orioles organization. And always is on the checklist, too, just so everyone kind of knows. We have Imanaga. Marte. Not that anyone's asked in a while about Satchel Paige cards, but just so anybody knows, if you go look at the checklist, he's always in the Orioles checklist because that's who bought that Negro League franchise. Nolan Jones, we have Tatis on the green border mini card. Padres and Phillip Lemons. Gleyber Torres mini card. Swanson. Yeah, I knew it was St. Louis. I couldn't remember who. We're going to have Sal Frelick. What the name of the actual team was called. Sal Frelick there on the mini card chrome. Castillo. Got Wyatt Langford. We're going to have another rip card here. Jose Tena. 54 out of 199 of the Guardians. I don't know if Austin Wilson is in here watching or not, but be his decision to rip it or not. That's going to be box 3 down. And the box 4. Luis Robert Jr. Box topper for the White Sox. Gavin Jennings. Assuming Gavin's chasing Frank. I know he's kind of a White Sox fan too, but Whitmore there. So they go into the other sports, professional baseball player. At least she's going to be part of that USA like women's league they're starting. They're starting a professional league just for women, I believe. That's what I was looking at. I think USA baseball is starting, and I don't think that means that only USA people can play in it. I just think that's who's going to be in charge. Jose Altuve on the refractor. Robbie's going to say something about the guy being a cheater. Cue that in the next 30 seconds. Kirby Puckett on the refractor. Black Border Jones. And we got Mountie, Ryan Mountcastle. I hate Ultra Pro top loaders. Yeah, Priester's crazy too. Fanatics is starting to make plastic, so that should get interesting. Say, I don't know. It's not mandatory that I buy Fanatics top loaders and sleeves or anything. They are a little bit more expensive than what I pay from Humongous Horde, which I don't know. I'd much rather just support a local small business, if I had to be honest about it. Mini cards right there. Just my personal opinion about it. That's the biggest reason why I even promote Humongous Horde and why I was promoting card shells, because it's veteran owned and operated. But card shells has gotten expensive. Should be interesting what he does though, because he's more expensive for sure than Fanatics is, and I know he has some of the larger breakers that buy from him, so I'm really curious to see if he changes his prices or kind of just like falls to the wayside with Suzuki for the Cubs on the memorabilia, if he falls to the wayside with Fanatics pushing plastic. And by plastic I mean sleeves, top loaders, one touches. We get Sony on the black border. Also, all those t-shirts finally came in, so I'll take some pictures of some t-shirts this weekend. If anybody wants any t-shirts, let me know the sizes. I don't know what price they have to be off the top of my head, but we have Pereira. I know for a fact I asked whenever they came that you can just sell them in the shop. You can sell them to whoever. You don't have to. They don't have to be given away in breaks or part of breaks where like someone gets a t-shirt. So, yeah, there's a few other ones that are up for order, but right now, like I think Robbie's been in the shop since they've been here. Just like a stack of boxes underneath the TV in the front of the shop because they all came in at the same time. We got Cycle Succession on the Carlton Fisk. I have 10 of there on the Chrome. It's going to be some sort of Gazelle on the X-Ray. The only problem with the t-shirts is they only go up to size 2X. I believe I have some men's small, but it's like men's medium to 2X is like most of the sizes. Which I know XL and large is like mostly everybody's size, but it's kind of crazy they don't care about tall or fat guys. That's kind of rude. We have Juan Soto on the memorabilia green board. Go to the Yankees and Michael Skornick. It's crazy to me, man. Absolutely crazy. Been trying really hard too to leave like politics out of the whole break stuff, only because I know that's like probably what most people are talking or thinking about run up to the election next week. So the biggest reason I had to early vote is because that's when Augustine is due, is the 5th. So we have Tatis Jr. for the Padres. More than likely, Rodney's going to be running the opening breaks at Stadium Club for the group, just so you guys know. I should be back Friday. I'll be back in my house, home base, baby. Setup will be the same it's always been, obviously. The table just a little bit smaller than this table is. Signed the lease for the new shop today, so definitely will be moving. City League? What City League are you playing? You go play softball, Austin? You're playing like flag football. Fancy a City League. There ain't no cities in South Dakota. What are you talking about? I said City League game. We have the Silver Toilet. Austin Martin. You missed a couple autographs. 101 printing plate for the Cubs. 2 rip cards are on the board. But Abbott and Eddie Rodriguez autos. And then both the rip cards, assuming there's 2 per case, are already out in the open. Just neither guy's really here to determine whether or not we rip it. The random team break obviously filled the mixer, that is, not the Allen and Ginter. And we'll run that after this. Have Aaron Judge on the chrome. What do I mean? He's gonna be on the chrome. Black border there for Tian Lin. Oh man, the disappointment of the season right here, Gabriel Moreno. Almost every time he comes up in a break, I talk about him. Just because I kept him in like 2 fantasy baseball leagues. And he fucking sucked. Great defense. He's going to be a starting catcher for his entire career because he's so good defensively. Like, great pop time, frames pitches well, receives the ball fantastic. Top 5 catcher in the league probably, but fucking could he not hit this year, man. After being a guy that was almost 300 hitter. Which, that's the only thing that matters in fantasy. They're not giving me points for how fucking well he can frame the ball. Prick. Shit pissed me off so much. Because there was, like, in the one league, it didn't matter. Like, he just fit in salary-wise because I got him as a rookie. And, like, there's certain rookie... Like, I had him as a prospect. He became a rookie. And, like, it's a dynasty league, so it didn't really matter as much. But the other league, I kept him over, like, a couple other guys that would have been better keeps. I didn't even play him half the time because I had Contreras from the Brewers, and he was pretty much killing the ball all year, so... And the guy that I would have kept would have been a pitcher, and my pitching staff was just depleted. Devers. Tani right there. Yeah, I'm excited about the new space, but not excited about the new space at the same time. Like, it's going to be... There we go. Marcus Semien, 2 out of 25. He wears number 2, doesn't he? Does he wear 3? Way going to the Rangers and Sean Schwartz on the black. So I didn't take that to sell it, Austin. I think it's in your package. I don't know how much they sold. I haven't looked to see how much they sorted today because Allen and Ginter, if you guys never sorted Allen and Ginter, it is a pain in the dick to sort. It is not a fun product to sort. And it's mostly just because of the same thing I'm dealing with right now. Like, the cards are, like, they're not sticky, but they're just that older, like, paper product feel, where it's like that vintage stock, but it's not truly vintage stock, so it doesn't slide. Like, vintage stock, if you pick up old vintage stock, not that I've dealt with a lot of stuff from like the 60s or 50s or even like the really early stuff, but it still slid. It had some like, this is like dry like parchment. I don't know how, it's not parchment, it's not the right word, but it does not glide well. Because I mean, obviously it doesn't have a gloss on it because it wants to have that like older feel, but the older paper had like a natural, more like glidey feel to it, which I don't think they can match without there being like a wear and tear on the paper, which you don't want to have like you don't want to have that and get the cards be like beat up already. That'd be weird. We're gonna have Anthony Rendon. So I thought it was an SP2 and the photo was probably just different, Austin. I'll just be honest with you, man. I was going to say, end of the month, which I mean, technically you work a government job, but it's not like the same type of government job that I work. End of the month, man, is people just trying to get shit done that have been dicking around all month, not getting done. So I had a busy day at work. Plus, obviously, when I got home, Halloween. Let me go grab some top loaders real quick, because obviously, like I said, they kind of went through that case. The big thing, too, I mean, I'm already back with the case of top loaders. The big thing, too, about going local to the Humongous Horde guy is, like, I should have hit him with an email today and said, hey, man, like, we mismanaged our inventory a little bit. Like, I ordered 75 points from him because, obviously, that's what the Allen and Ginter stuff goes into. And, just a miscommunication. I thought we had more 75 points when they were actually a 100-point case. So I didn't order any. I didn't order any preemptively, but because they're local, I sent him an email and said, hey, man, like, I'll come and pick them up from your warehouse if you can't get them out today. He got them out today, so they'll be here tomorrow because they're local compared to... I can't do that with Fanatics. I can't do that with card shells. Like, that's just super convenient in itself. If you really need something, like, you can get it the next day. Pete Alonso on the box topper for the Mets. But yeah, the government agency I work for, they're reorganizing everything, all the departments. So it's also brutal in that sense. Like, I got tasked to look up some BS. I'm going to start looking for an actual government remote job or something hybrid. Like, going to really start looking once I get back to work after the baby comes, because I'll be honest with you guys, the cards and the government job is killing me, and we're just not... It's not me complaining. I don't think we'll ever get there. I don't know if we'll ever get there, and it really does not matter to me. Like, unless we start breaking like 3 or 4 breaks a day, which I don't even know if I want to be that big. Between the benefits and the salary I make in the government job, it's like not worth it if I'm not working at least remote for the government. So, and like anybody that has kids, you knows that like if you don't have decent benefits with more than one kid, like, this shit's so expensive. I paid so much money for insulin in the last couple of months. So much money. No. So, Deanna has gestational diabetes. which is my fault because it's the father's fault when that happens. So. Yeah, I was gonna say it's third time. I was gonna say 3 for 3. Got that Klay Thompson on the Maverick shooting percentage. Man, he's a dog on the Mavericks. I love that. Man, I hope they play the Warriors in the first round and smoke the fuck out of them. I mean, I'm a Mavericks fan, so of course I wanted that to happen anyway, but I really do hope that yeah, and the worst part is it's gotten earlier every single night. John Daly for the sports, the other sports, the big dog, Santa Claus right here. This time around, it was much later, much earlier than. Well, the second time was bad too, but last time, man, she had a twisted ovary. They didn't remove her ovary. That was bad. Waiting a few days early. And, yeah, so Lily was born a little bit earlier than she was supposed to be. 41 out of 50. These are just a Cody Bellinger type of break. Look. It's like right here it's a printing plate to print this bad boy. Let's see. 41 out of 50 going to the Cubbies and Ben. Say on the gold, little mini card action on the gold right there. We're getting a double silver Toily. That's going to be a Starling Marte. Curtis Mead on the chrome. Yeah, dude, and this time the baby's huge. I think he's already like 9 pounds. I mean, obviously due next Tuesday, but the other kids were, I mean, I wasn't a big baby, so, but the other kids weren't huge either, but this one is, I'm telling you right now, man, Joseph is already a tank. If he ends up being bigger than Joseph, we're going to have problems. Because Joseph is already at like the 90th percentile if he was 4, and he's not 4 yet. Trying to get me that exclusive or just trying to get that exclusive Fanatics football money. Just to say, just have Joseph be a start tight end in the NFL. Man, if he stays the way that he is, like his mentality, and I don't think I mean, I don't know, you don't know how your kid's gonna grow up into being like a preteen and a teenager, but if he likes to tackle and hit any way like he does right now and ends up being a big kid, he's going to be a nasty defensive end or tackle, because when him and his cousins play and they're playing like football or whatever, that kid levels people. Oh, there's no might about it, Austin. It 100% will be. It's already scheduled. That's already that'll be another 3 for 3 experience. We have Austin Wells. There is a 0 chance that it ends up being a natural birth. We have Bobby Witt Jr. the X-Fractor Corbin Carroll. Yeah, it should be an interesting evening, too, because of the election, so we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of anticipation and nervous Americans, so. Paul Molitor right there on the Cycle Succession. Jackie Robinson for the Dodgers. Yeah, woo. But I don't think we got anybody in here really from a swing. So we've got Mike Trout on the green border because Texas and Alabama, more than likely, I would say more than likely, are going to be red. Maryland's going to be a blue state. South Dakota is definitely I mean, the Dakotas are red states no matter what. So, I think we got anybody in here from like Pennsylvania or any of the swing states to get what the climate is. Although I do think personally that, I mean, I could be wrong. I do think Larry Hogan ends up being the senator from Maryland. But he's not really a Republican. He's a Democrat, and Republicans. I mean, you can't run as a Republican in Maryland and have a chance to win anything. We have Rafael Devers for the Red Sox. Just 2 states of giant garbage, Austin. I still can't believe Joe Biden said that. Like, I know that he has dementia and he's not all there, but good Lord, man. Good Lord. From a political standpoint, if I was Kamala Harris, I would be pissed. That was like the war cry for Trump. And the people that voted for Trump was whenever Hillary Clinton called anybody that was like a MAGA Republican or whatever else deplorables. That was their rally cry. Oh, nice, man. Well, when we get to the new shop, I gotta go get a gun and register it and get the concealed carry permit. Not that we're moving to a bad area, just he said it about all Republicans. Anybody that's voting for Trump, he called them garbage. That's why you didn't see Ramaswamy or whatever his name is went out to collect garbage somewhere, and then Trump showed up at his rally. Yes, was it yesterday or the day before? So he got off his plane wherever he had his rally at. He got off his plane in a like one of the vests, like a construction vest, because the garbage men wear that in the night, not at night, in the early morning, right? And then he showed up in his rally in the in the construction vest. Both the candidates doing all the podcasts are kind of interesting, too. I think Kamala was on the one chick's... she's super popular. I can't think of what her name was. She went on, like, Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp, and then Trump and Vance did Theo Von's podcast, and I think Trump did Flagrant. We have Polish Sausage, and Trump and Vance did Rogan. Sosa on the Silver Toilet. So it's interesting that they are going to these long-form podcasts. Call her daddy, call him daddy, something like that. I don't know. I don't watch podcasts that are... I mean, that's partially... I do watch some... I don't really listen to podcasts in general, but... I'm not against something that's ran by a female. Just I think that's more one of those ones where she kind of talks about like more women's issues than something that's not geared towards a male demographic. Vladdy Jr. has been showing up tenfold here, going to the Blue Jays, and Matt Rock on the mini card. But I know the big thing on Reddit today was JD Vance just was on, which I can't wait to see in 4 years from now. Well, we'll see what happens. If Trump wins, I can't wait to see 4 years from now JD Vance running against Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom. Those are going to be some good debates. I mean, if obviously he doesn't win, the Republican candidate obviously couldn't be Vance 4 years from now. You can't lose to Kamala and Tim Walz and then run again 4 years from now. So, but I think Gavin Newsom's an idiot, but. I don't actually think anything's wrong with Pete Buttigieg. I just think that it wasn't his time whenever he tried to run over Joe Biden. I think it's hard to go from a mayor to the national stage. Got Babe Ruth on the Chrome. I think that was a tough transition, but now that he's been like the transport person, and he actually like answers questions and shit when he goes to briefings. Like I actually don't mind him as a politician as much as some of the other folks that's in the cabinet for Joe Biden and that are in office. We're gonna have Kelsey Whitmore, professional baseball player. Yeah, well, Newsom's just a snake is the real problem. We have Cass. He's kind of like the dude that's from, I can't remember his name. The guy that was the governor of New York and has a brother that was on CNN. Oh, man, what's their last name right now? It's funny, too. People have been trying to say that, that the word veterans loosely used by J.D. Vance as if he wasn't a fucking Marine for 4 years. I mean, I don't take away from Tim Wall's service either, but I would rather have a guy that was an active duty Marine for... If you're going to call someone a veteran, and this is just my preference only because I was active duty for 7 years. I don't have anything wrong with the Guard or Reserves. Yeah, Kumo, that's it. I was going to say... What I'm trying to say is, like, Gavin Newsom's kind of like Kumo, or just a fucking snake, like, just a piece of shit. And now Kumo's, like, flip-flopping on all his ideals because he was just part of that, and that's what I think Newsom is, too, just part of that political machine where, like, they do shit they don't even believe in, like, they just do it because they're like, oh, this is, like, I like the power, like... But either way, well, Kumo was like sexually assaulting women, right, or harassing them. The dude from CNN, like, he started flip-flopping on points and now tries to do like some middle stance bullshit. like change his mind. Like, bro, you worked at CNN. Like, you clearly have a biased opinion, which is fine. Like, I mean, Don. Like, I don't have a big issue with Don. I didn't have a big issue with Don Lemon at CNN whenever he was honest with himself rather than just be a fucking flip flop. Now he's like on Twitter and a little bit different, but he's like talking about Giuliani. I was talking about Giuliani. Just kind of got old, man. But back to the military thing where they used Tim Walz for the as like kind of the. I think one of the reasons why they picked up. So there's a difference between. I can't remember Tim Walz's MOS right now, but there's a difference between like people that are in the Guard and the reserves that get deployed all the time and are in units that are deployed and work certain jobs that deployed. For the most part, a lot of the guardsmen and reserves don't ever actually get deployed. Or they might get deployed once in like a really long, let's say they are in the Guard for 30 or 40 years and retire. Like, they don't get deployed as much as you would think. A lot of them are just working like basic ass like white collar or even blue collar like civilian jobs as a military guy, even if they're like active Guard. Like, I know a few guardsmen that are active here that are part of an intel unit that literally they just work as if they were normal, work as a normal person at an intel agency. They just wear a military uniform when they go to work. So there's guardsmen like that. Like, you need people that are like admin and stuff like that that are working regular. I don't think Tim Walz, and I could be mistaken, I don't think he was like an infantryman or something. Now, if you're in the Guard unit or the reserves as an infantryman, that's different. Or like there's even guardsmen that are like combat people. But what I was trying to get at with Tim Walz is the dude never was a chief master sergeant in the sense of like he never actually accepted the rank and then bailing out on at deployments. Like, absolute bullshit to say you were command master sergeant. Like, that's just dog shit. Oh, are they Army? I could probably look up exactly what the main MOS is if you tell me the base, and I can probably tell you what they do. But like for me, I'll use my prime example, right? Like, if I would have got out in the Guard as a communications troop, like I probably would have would have been a lot of like not being deployed, would have been a lot of just sitting around at a desk one weekend a month. Not that there isn't dudes that like do some serious shit in the reserves and the Guard. It's just it's not as common as like if you're a Marine, like your first job is whatever your first job is, your second job is you're an infantryman. Like, plus the Marines in general, their mentality is just a little fucked, in my personal opinion. But obviously, I was part of the chair force, so our mentality is a lot different than what a Marine's mentality is, like mentally, even in our training. So yeah, a lot of Army units, if you're reserves or guardsmen, you can deploy. But the prime example is like I don't think Tim Walz deployed at all. I could be wrong. Also, he did way too much shit in China. Like, that's just in general. Like, I don't care if you're going over there for school or whatever the fuck you're going over there to do. Like, if you're over there in another country too much, man, it starts to influence who you are as a person. And China is not a place that I want anybody to be a part of. Like, I just think Tim Walz was a terrible vice presidential choice for Kamala. I think personally, if she would have picked up the Golden Boy, either the Golden Boy Gavin Newsom or Pete Buttigieg, I think Trump would have had what. I don't know if Trump's going to win or not, because who the fuck knows? And I don't want to get into like how the election went in 2020 and whether there was fraud or not fraud or any other bullshit. But I do think she would have been a much more formidable opponent no matter what happens with Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom. Like, I think Tim Walz was a terrible choice. We have Rebello on the silver. Like him playing video games with AOC was like just a bit. It's like as if your like weird uncle trying to act like he's cool. Like it was just weird as hell. This is coming from somebody that plays like, I mean, video games on a really regular basis. Also, welcome to the chat, Frag. I don't know who you are because you're obviously under an alias, but welcome to the group if you're not actually in a group and just watching me open up Allen and Ginter. But oh, there we go. Jake Cronenworth, I was going to say, for the Padres. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to politicians looking out for the country, the problem is, too, when it comes to just policies in general, it's really hard in the United States in general because our country's so big, the population's so big, and it's not just, like, the population being so big. Like, our country is, like, vast. If you think about it, like, we're really, compared to other countries or places in the world, we got Churio. We have such a diverse landscape, as in, like, actual land. And then if you want to go in landscape and use that in a different way, landscape of people, like, different cultures, different, like, the way people think just from, like, their upbringing of, like, we got Dickie on the black border. Like, I was raised by, obviously, my mom, but a lot of, like, I have a lot of influence from my grandparents who grew up pre-World War II Germany. So, like, my outlook and, like, what in my head's, like, a true struggle and not a struggle is maybe different than somebody else's. Because, like, the stories I grew up with was, like, famine and, like, a really shitty country before, and then, obviously, the war happened. And so on and so forth. So, like, my perspective from, like, a father figure is just different than maybe somebody else's. And I know that, like, that can be, like, in any country. But what I'm trying to get at is, like, you also, like, being that they were immigrants and I'm, like, the second generation of those immigrants, like, Austin probably comes from German immigrants. I'm assuming Stanley and Sean probably come from, Schwartz is probably, German or maybe Dutch? But depending when you came over, like if you come from Irish immigrants, like all that stuff is different the way you are raised and brought up, and then you bring in the other cultures, like if you come from a Hispanic or Dominican or Mexican or one of the Asian countries, whether it's Korean or Japanese or Vietnamese, like the way those countries raise children or whatever, is children, their mentality is just different. So you mix all that together, and then such in a large area where, like, you have Green right there, Riley Green, where, like, what is in Florida, like, you can grow oranges in Florida, and then in Montana, like, nothing's growing, and you gotta, I don't know, herd moose. I don't know what the hell they do up there, to be honest. But either way, what I'm trying to get at is it's just hard to have all the policies meet up with everybody, which is why, like, me personally, like, I live in a state that doesn't really agree with, like, a lot of my personal views in the sense of, like, how taxes should work and everything else in Maryland. Obviously got stationed in the military, stayed here for work, and then, you know, started a family here, so then it's also, well, now I have the business and everything, but it's also just in general, like, hard to move whenever a lot of the government and what I do is just here, like, it just is what it is. But it makes it to where, shit, where was I going with this? I went on a tangent and got off track. I'm not weaving like Trump does. I'm not weaving back to, oh no, German. What I was trying to say is, for the policies to line up. Oh, state. What I was trying to get into was that I think it's really important to vote in your local elections, but I think that the states' rights and how states do things is like super important, because I think local government, everything actually affects people more than the federal policies. You talking about after World War I, Stanley? You're talking about after World War II? We're gonna have Black Border Mauer. So I'll be very open about kind of where my grandparents came from. So my mother's side of my grandfather's family, not my grandmother, because obviously she's a woman and women didn't fight in war. And she's younger than my grandfather, so never a chance. So my grandfather was 17 when World War II ended. So he's 90. He'll be 96 in January. So he played soccer. He's a relatively decent soccer player. He played in Hitler's youth. On like whatever soccer teams they played in, however the camps. I don't know how any of that stuff worked. He doesn't like to talk about it too much, so don't have like the whole perspective in the sense of like really how any of that stuff worked. But his brother, so he was the third in a line of 4 boys. His youngest brother was like 40 years younger than him, so like not even close to being. It might even be younger than that. But his other brothers were 2 years apart of each other. So his oldest brother is 4 years older than him, and his third brother was 2 years older than he was. So his older brother fought under Rommel in Africa and either died in action or just never came back home. It is said that a lot of the people in Africa, after they won, kind of just went and stayed in Africa and never didn't go back because ideologically, like, not everybody agreed. We have Nachos here on the Ballpark Bites. Necessarily agreed with what Hitler was doing, right? I mean, it was actually probably more common to not really agree, or like people not like really being naive and not going on. Like, we make it seem like even today that like communication and everything was as good as it is now. Like, there was no social media, there was no TV wasn't even invented, dude. Like, yeah, they had the radio and broadcasts and stuff, but it was very much like you could really control the narrative of what's going on. But either way, his oldest brother fought in France and France, Belgium, like all over Europe. His father was a World War I veteran. But really what it comes down to is, we don't talk about it too much in the States because it never really affected us, is like we went through the Great Depression in 29 as a country, the United States. But the Germans went through a depression as well that was even worse, to where my grandfather remembers when he was young having to pretty much that burning money was a better way to heat your house than buying kerosene to heat your house, because pretty much Germany's money, the German mark was pretty much monopoly money after World War I. So that'll create a lot of disdain of who owns businesses and whatever else is going on, which easily creates a way for, it's like everybody else's fault that you're super poor, which is, I think, how everybody was so easily able to be manipulated by Hitler to get into a world war. But yeah, man, just some of the stories of him like having to go back and forth between East and West Germany because part of his family was like his cousins were separated from everybody else in East Germany, and sneaking in train cars, or being under the train or on top of the train, pretty much sneaking back and forth between the two sides is kind of nutty. I know after the war that at one point in time my great-grandmother and my grandfather and his youngest brother got stuck on the eastern side of in East Germany and had to sneak their way back to West Germany. And I know that my great-grandfather, he passed away in the 60s, I believe. But he was disabled from World War I. But whenever everything happened, because he didn't hold like a political position or anything, I don't know if he was held captive. I never really got like the true story. My grandfather really never talked about his dad too much. But he made it seem like he was in like jail or prison or something. Yeah, so there's I mean, I'm not saying your grandmother did or didn't do that. And since it's spitting on his shoe, but there's a lot of because the narrative could be so controlled, and I don't want to, and I'm trying to say this like in a justification that doesn't make what happened then doesn't make anything right in that time period. Like going back and looking at it now, like obviously, like you have hindsight's 2020, right? But going back to the people that own the businesses and made it very hard to live, where you couldn't get food. You, like I said, it was cheaper to burn your money than it was to buy stuff. That'll create a lot of disdain. And if you have disdain and a certain group of people own everything, it is going to be very easy to manipulate people to think that they're part of the problem. And I know that's me kind of beating around the bush for the words, but that was the best way that I got an explanation from my grandfather of why it was so easy to manipulate the mass population into being okay, of why you could point fingers at a certain group of people. Now, obviously not right, but it makes it easy, and if you don't know any better, and somebody's telling you, and that's all you hear over and over again, it becomes humanly okay, where you have rationalized in your head that it's an okay action to do. Now, I know for a fact that I don't think that... I know my grandfather didn't know, and a lot of people didn't know that that group of people were being essentially sent to gas chambers and burned alive. That's something that was not shared among the population. A lot of people just thought they were going to jail or wherever else. Now, you want to get into some jacked up stuff, go look what happened to Russia in the same time to the same group of people, and you would realize that Joseph Stalin was a much more terrible man than Adolf Hitler was. Now, Adolf Hitler was a piece of shit, for sure. Absolute psychopath, but Joseph Stalin... And it wasn't just... It was pretty much everybody. Anybody that wasn't a white Russian was in the gulags, was burned alive, was shot to death. They killed way more people in that time period than Germany did. And I heard those stories from my Russian teachers when I was learning Russian at DLI. So, because my teachers were like in their 50s and 60s, and their parents came from a communist Russia. But yeah, dude, Stalin was a deranged person. Now we went on a World War II history lesson and tangent. Back to, just vote. I mean, whether you agree with conservative or liberal politics, make sure you vote in your local elections. Also, if somebody is running your space, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, and your area sucks ass, doesn't improve, maybe just vote for the other side and see what happens. Or you can be like Maryland and just let your city of Baltimore go to a jet. It wasn't just the Bolshevik Revolution. I'm talking about like World War II, dude. Or you have Jim Abbott for the Yankees. That's going to go to Michael Skornick. The amount of Jews that Joseph Stalin killed was larger. Obviously, the records aren't as good, because one thing Hitler did do that he was very good at was he kept logs of everything. Like, so you can't really alter history if you're keeping track of it. There's not those same logs in Russia, but I mean, you weren't even allowed to practice religion until, what, the 1990s? From like 1920 to 1990, if you wanted to practice even Catholicism, not Catholicism, Eastern Orthodox, you pretty much had to do it in the sewers of Moscow and the sewers of St. Petersburg. Our understanding of Americans of like Russian history is like not very good. You literally are just, well, like, we are in this mindset that like. We have Ronald Acuna Jr. on the Chrome. I think it's one of the reasons, too, why a lot of people get afraid of, like, Trump and Putin being, like, friendly with one another. I mean, obviously, like, the whole thing with Ukraine is, like, they don't... The relationship between Russia and Ukraine goes back to, like, this 1500s. Maybe even before that. Like, at one point in time, they were the same governing... They were the same government. I missed what you said, Stanley. I don't know if you deleted it or Sean deleted it, but yeah, the Ukrainian and Russian disdain for one another, or like I call it a sibling rivalry, goes back to like when there used to be lords. I'm talking about like English lords when the Vikings still existed and were trying to take over England or the United Kingdom, whatever you want to call it. That's how old that feud goes back to. You're talking about like, I want to say it might be the 1400s. I'd have to go look up at the exact dates, but it goes back far. Like right after Genghis Khan. Yeah, there you go. That's going to be box number 9. But that so, and I don't really talk about the Russian and Ukraine thing. Like the war they're having is dumb, and too many people have died. Like obviously, like I'm not pro like kill people, but let's just put it this way. And I don't know how much I'm allowed to share because like the field I'm in, and I can't. And sometimes I'm not going to share because I don't know what's classified and what's not. But let's just say that if you're Big Brother, now I don't know between Sean and Stanley which one of you two is the Big Brother, but I know Austin is the little brother. No, you're the Big Brother, right, Austin? Landon is your younger brother, right? So it would be like this. Like it's hard to use an example for me because like my little brother is way younger than me. So if I just picked on him, it's okay. So I'll use an example with Austin. So Austin and Landon, they're both about the same size. It actually makes more sense because Austin is much better. Well, yes, much better because he gets in my breaks and Landon just gets in Dan's shit. So Austin, much better. But oh, I thought that's what you said, but I wasn't sure, and I was like, oh, maybe he doesn't want to be like on Facebook as an abuser. Not that I think you're like hitting your daughter, because I give my son, even at 3 years old, sometimes the only thing he responds to is getting a spanking. Like I don't know what else to say about it. Like it is what it is. Should you hit your kids? No, not violently, but like some kids react to things different. So parenting's parenting. Whatever works for your child is not going to work for another child, more than likely. And hell, even the same children. Like I could, like if right now Lily is like obsessed with flickering the. I'll circle back to the whole Ukraine and Russia thing in 1 second, but right now with Lily, like she brushes her teeth and she'll flicker the lights on and off. She's 22 months. No, not 21 months. We'll say 21 months. So right now she tries to turn the light off and she thinks it's funny, like while people are in there or whatever else. Now, if I would smack Joseph's hand when he was that age, he would cry and not do it again. She looks at me and laughs at me like, that doesn't hurt. Like, okay, like now I gotta punch you across the room because you're just trying to be the big dog in the house and you're not. I'm kidding. But back to the Ukraine and Russia. So it'd be like this. Let's say Austin has a really, really expensive truck. And this truck runs on natural gas. And it's a giant, I don't know, thing that runs through your country to go to a bunch of other countries. But we'll use a truck as an example. But let's say it's a big truck, and Austin lets his brother Landon use the truck. The truck, unfortunately, has to park at Landon's house. Landon doesn't necessarily like it, but because it's a nice truck, and he doesn't have a nice truck, and he's not really getting anything out of having the nice truck there other than Austin using his land to, using his driveway to park it, and not reaping a lot of the benefits. So essentially, Landon scratches the truck. And then says, like, I didn't scratch your truck. Somebody else scratched your truck. Some random guy scratched your truck, Austin. I didn't do that. And he keeps doing it, and Austin finally knows, 100% catches Landon red-handed scratching his truck. And then Austin punches Landon in the face. That is the Russian and Ukraine dispute. Except it just has to do with a natural gas line that goes to Europe. And that's really what the dispute that really, like, popped off. That was, like, the final straw. There's other things. There's a lot of other, like, sibling rivalry. Like, oh, there's Russians in your land. Let me get my Russian people. I should own this land. Kind of like, you could use it comparatively to, like, World War II, where, like, Hitler's big thing was, like, I'm just trying to take back the Rhineland back from, what was it? Is it Poland? It's Austria and Poland. I'm just trying to take back in the land from France, like land that's Germanic, that's from the barbaric, like the era of the barbarians or whatever with the Germans. But yeah, same thing. But yeah, I mean that's really what happened. We just don't talk about it because to us it's not anything we could fathom. But it'd be the same comparison as if like Canada started fucking with stuff in the United States, and we're like, yo, you need to stop doing that, or we're gonna go in and we're gonna bomb you. We're gonna go in, we're gonna go take over part of your country. And Canada's like, hey, well, Canada's too nice. You can't even really use Canada in a scenario like this, because Canada has like, they probably roll over and hand us 3 moose and tell us to take over their hockey teams or something. But either way, it'd be the same thing. Like, pretty much that's what happened, is they're like, oh, we didn't do that. And then Putin was like, all right, well, now the presidency, we have Baines and Kienlin, and NATO is not as strong. The UN's not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to roll into Ukraine because no one's going to stop me. No one's going to put up the troops to fight against Russia to stop it from happening in Ukraine. And I think he knew that Biden wasn't going to do anything, which is part of the problem, because we really do run, like, we don't run NATO, we don't run the UN, but, like, we're obviously the biggest influencers of that. We are the world police in the United States, whether we should be or shouldn't be or whatever your opinions on it. It doesn't matter. The facts are the facts on that. We got Quavo on the Chrome. So they knew that there was not going to be there wasn't going to be repercussions to go into Ukraine based on what the current leadership was. We have Holland, which is Liam Holland. I don't know. Is he he's an influencer. I have no clue what this guy influences, but sure. Austin, I don't disagree. I'm not saying that I defend what Putin did, because I don't. I'm just saying that's the rationale of why it happened. That was the, all right, well, you know what? If you're going to keep doing this and keep messing with the natural gas pipeline, we're just going to take over the land it's on and put our people there and then say it's Russian. Like, I mean, yes, that's what they eventually are trying to do or did do. But the thing that made that happen was Zelensky and company just wouldn't stop being assholes about it, about the pipeline. And I mean, I kind of get it. Like, maybe they weren't getting a fair shake in whatever the trade deal is they had in place. So I don't know that in depth, because I don't as much as I could, I mean, I don't have access to documents. As much as I could go back through and read the Russian part of the documents, I can't read Ukrainian. Because it's language, they normally use mostly Russian, but some of the words are changed, which changes the meaning of like a whole sentence, because Russian in general is hard to read. At least for me, some people really got it. That was like my biggest struggle when it came to learning Russian, but yeah, just... And I don't think people understand the social dynamic of that and just assume that, like, it makes Putin a terrible person. And I really think, I mean, we did the same thing with oil. Like, we literally were like, yo, like, you're, like, in Afghanistan or Iraq. Like, Saddam Hussein, like, yeah, we can talk about George Bush going over there because his daddy didn't finish the job in the in the Gulf War in 92 or whatever, but in general, we went over there because Saddam Hussein was making that area destabilized, and it was fucking with our oil. We literally went to war over the same thing that Russia and Ukraine went to war over, and we're like, why the fuck would they do that? Like, dude, we did the same thing. We've literally pivoted it and made it sound like, even in Afghanistan, we made it sound, okay, well, Afghanistan was a little bit different because of 9/11, but we stayed there for a really long time to fight terrorism the whole time, and I'm nothing against it, dude. I was in the Air Force. Like, we can drop all the warheads on foreheads we want, buddy. I don't give a shit. We can UAV the shit out of somebody for all I care. As much as, like, I didn't agree with some of Barack Obama's policy, that man was the UAV god. He was dropping so many UAV bombs all over the place. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where, like, we've literally gone to war for the same thing that Ukraine and Russia are at war for, or one of the same reasons. How we justify it afterwards is just completely different. Well, I have a whole different... The whole Israel conflict right now, too, with Hamas is fucking wild to me. I cannot believe there's anybody in the United States that's supporting a terrorist organization in Hamas. The Palestinians and Hamas, I know, are like two different things technically, but we got another Cody Bellinger, man. There is no way in hell. Zero chance. That... I don't understand the people that are supporting Hamas. I know they're using it as Palestinians and they don't understand the conflict over there, how the world works. But the people that are causing problems are a terrorist organization. That's Hamas, not... I mean, Hezbollah... We haven't talked about Hezbollah in I don't know how many years. Well, that's why I try to use the analogy of Canada, Austin, because if it was Canada per se, let's say it was Canada and they were over there fucking with us in Saskatchewan, over by Edmonton, and then maybe in Alberta, we would be playing for keeps too, let's be honest. If it was to us, we'd be playing for keeps. We wouldn't take over Canada and be like, okay, you can have it back now. It's because it's next to us. We would be like, all right, we're going to connect all this Canadian land to Alaska. Jason Dominguez, by the way, to the Yankees and Michael Skornick. Well, they wouldn't be able to live still. Half of them would be stoned to death on sight. But, yeah. It's a really sticky subject, too, because a lot of Jewish folks are on the liberal or Democrats, left-leaning or whatever, and they can't be on the side of Hamas, or the Palestinians, because they're Jewish, so they have to... That's why it's always a really weird... Like, it's really a small population of the left that probably actually supports Hamas, but it's the loudest part of the left, and that's problematic. But yeah. It is the loud part of the left. I was just having a discussion with somebody at work about women's rights, including abortion, and explaining to them, because obviously I think you guys have figured out now that I'm on the conservative side of things. I was trying to explain to them that no one in the right really gives a shit about abortion. Nobody, even Trump, J.D. Vance, nobody's saying you cannot have an abortion if there's incest, someone gets raped, any of that stuff. I should say raped or whatever, because you can't, I don't think you can say that word. It's probably going to get taken down by YouTube if anybody watches it. But sexual assault or any of that stuff, like, nobody, I don't think there's anybody that cares. Well, I don't want to get into states' rights, Stanley, because that's a hard... I tried to explain that to somebody else, and they're like, that's not how it works. Blah, blah, blah. Roy. Good old Roy. Roe versus Wade, like, shouldn't have repealed it. I was like, okay. I was like, this is a person that smokes a lot of weed. I said, okay, so you want all arrows to follow only federal law, right? I said, so the next time you smoke weed, like, I'm going to call on the federal police to arrest you because you're breaking a federal law. They're like, no, that's stupid. It's legal in this state. I said, okay, then. I was like, then what's the issue? They're like, it's not the same thing. It's not controlling anyone's bodily function or whatever, dude. The whole states versus thing, I don't think people can conceptually understand why repealing Roe v. Wade was actually a good thing. And actually, as somebody that's been in a situation where I've been in the South and needed to have something done, and there's a federal law at the time that says the states have to be able to perform this, and you're in the state of Mississippi, where there's only 2 locations in the entire state to get this type of thing done, and you can only show up on a Tuesday at 9 a.m. on the 5th Sunday of the month of October, in the month of December, on the 5th year of the moonlight, whatever. Pretty much goddamn impossible for you to get an appointment to do such thing, because there's only 2 places in the entire fucking state to get it done. And then because the South is kind of all like, oh yeah, yeehaw. I mean, I know that you guys live in like Texas, and I know Stanley's in Alabama, and the yeehaw was a little bit pretentious, but there's other states that, like, let's say, I don't know, the bordering state of Alabama or Louisiana, that will not let you go get such procedure if you are living in the other state of Mississippi at the time. Wouldn't you just want it to be the state's right of whatever the state is, so you know that you have to go to a different state to get such thing done? It would have been much easier. I would have just known we to go to the Panhandle of Florida to begin with, and that Florida would actually do it instead of having to call around like a freaking dipshit trying to figure out how to get something done. But yeah, they don't have the real experience, and a lot of the people that are bitching about it live in these super far left states where, like, you could have an abortion anyways. What's it matter? You can, where you live at, it can be done anyways, and you're the most loud and vocal about it. And don't understand that even when it was mandatorily legal in the South, they would make it hard, to say the least, to get it done legally. Just because something's legal doesn't mean they have to make it easy to get that to have to make that thing easy to be done, if that makes sense. Like, marijuana is legal to grow in a bunch of places. That doesn't mean there's not a bunch of regulations and has to be a cash business and this and that. It's one of the reasons why dispensaries in Colorado struggled so much, because it was a cash-only business. Actually, a great show to explain that is, I don't know if you guys watch Tulsa King on Paramount Plus. If you don't, you should, because Sylvester Stallone is such a good... I mean, I feel like he's aged like fine wine, dude. The older he gets, the better he gets as a serious actor. Rocky and shit was cool, but some of the stuff he's done later on, like that shows like how much depth he has. But yeah, man. So that show kind of explains how the marijuana business works, right? Like the guy that's in the show, which I cannot remember the actor's name or even what his name is in the show right now, because we were kind of waiting until the whole season comes out to watch season 2. Because I'm not a huge fan of the weekly release schedule. That shit just... I'd rather binge watch it or watch it on my own time. But it shows straight up what we're going to have. Kaczynski, which is an actor, Derek Kaczynski. I don't know what he acts in, but... Going to go to the non-sports spot. And Ryan, nice hit there. But it explains pretty much like, oh, he has all this cash around, even though the guy's investing in crypto and whatever else, which, meaning the crypto and the apes or whatever, not the investors that are apes. But yeah, either way, what I was trying to get at is like, just because something is legal doesn't mean that it has to be easily legal. If that makes sense. We have Ramirez on the in-action card, which seems to be pretty rare. For an insert, we got Bobby Witt Jr. on the chrome. But yeah, it's one of those things where, yeah, just because something's legal federally doesn't mean that a state has to make it super easy to do. There you go. Better wording is the red tape the crap out of it. So yeah, I mean, and then that's what they would do. I mean, that's literally what the South would do with abortion anyway. So like, really, yes, it has to be legal, but it doesn't have to be legal, if that makes sense. Like, but if regardless, I don't think there's anybody on the right. I haven't met anybody that's not like super devout, like evangelical. Maybe some Mormons you could get there, like some Latter-day Saint folk that are like super religious. That are really like, oh yeah, like no abortion ever. It doesn't matter if you're this or that. I just don't think anybody wants people to have abortions when they're 6 months pregnant. I think that's where the disagreement is when and where you shouldn't have one. My personal... We have David Ortiz for the Red Sox. My personal opinion about it is at the point where the doctor has to possibly break their whatever their doctor oath is. I can't think of what it is off the top of my head officially called. But the oath where pretty much they have to try to save a person's life or do what's in best interest of a person medically. When it becomes to the point where the woman's health, when it becomes to the point where if you have terminated a pregnancy, becomes... Yeah, there you go, Big Red. That's a good example, too, in Oklahoma. Obviously, there's medical... What I was trying to get to is medically... There you go, the Hippocratic Oath. That's what I thought it was, but I didn't want to sound like a dipshit, Austin, because that kind of just defeats my whole perspective on it. At whatever point in the pregnancy, there becomes a point where to terminate a pregnancy for non-cause, as in like you just don't want to have the pregnancy anymore, it becomes more detrimental or more risk-bearing for the mother to have the... I mean, obviously the child or the fetus or whatever is going to be terminated at that point in time, right? No matter how you look at it, like obviously the risk of that abortion for the baby is death. Like there's no doubt about it. Whether you want to call it a baby, a fetus, whatever you want to name it or call it at that point in time. But whenever it becomes risky for the mother to where the mother could lose her life or cause complications, and the doctor has to kind of make a decision like you probably shouldn't do this, that's where I think there's a problem. Because I think it becomes after like the 16th week that it becomes where a later term abortion can cause a lot of problems long term, where a mother can be become infertile because of having to do the abortion. The mother can have complications when she passes away or has like long-term blood clotting issues or whatever else. At that point in time, I feel like a doctor has to be like, look, like, we shouldn't do this. Like, it's not medically sound to do this. Now, if the baby does have something like, let's say Tay-Sachs. Man, I'm really just going hard on the Jews tonight, huh? But obviously, if you don't know what Tay-Sachs is, essentially it's not common. It is pretty much only found in Orthodox Jews. And pretty much by the time you're 6 as a child, you won't live. There is some cases, I think, where people live till like their teenage years, but for the most part, like, you're not going to live a full life. So at that point, if you're later in the life with Tay-Sachs, then yes, if you find out from genetic precursors that your child's going to have Tay-Sachs and you want to have an abortion at 16 weeks or 18 weeks because the child's not going to have a good life and you don't want your child to suffer, that's different. I'm okay with that. Or like the pregnancy has a very low probability of not having a stillborn or whatever else. Like, a mother shouldn't have to go through dramatic stress carrying a baby and then the baby, like, I couldn't even imagine if Tuesday comes and my son was born stillborn. Like, I don't know, like, emotionally, even as a father, let alone the mother carrying a child, how emotionally I could deal with that, let alone the mother. So at that point in time, it's a little bit different. And that's where there are those exceptions. And I don't think anybody that is would be conservative, or even some of the most far right-leaning individuals that aren't super religious, have any issue with that. And I think that's the problem. And I don't know how, and I think it's because that, like, it's important. But here's the thing, man. In all honesty, like, whether you're Trump or anybody that's a conservative, I don't know how big the evangelical voting mass is, or like how that super far right, like religious, like, if you're not so pro-life, like, I'm not gonna vote for you. I don't understand why a candidate from even a Democrat candidate comes out and says, like, this is what I support, like, by the book, explains the whole situation, and then you're just done with it. Especially on the right, where, like, I feel like there's a lot of women, there's a lot of men, that are like, oh, well, like, if they're pro-life, like, I think it was one of the issues with whenever Trump picked Mike Pence to run with him against, well, first off, I didn't think Trump had a chance in hell to beat Hillary Clinton, so, whenever he had Mike Pence run with him, though, like, I thought that was, one of the reasons he picked Pence was to get that, like, strong, like, Southern Bible Belt vote for the pro-lifers and all that other stuff. I don't understand why now that Trump and Vance have both said that they're okay with abortion in these certain situations, why they don't just come out and give their exact stance on it. Like, who gives a shit about the evangelical vote? Like, they're either going to vote for you, they're not going to go and vote for Kamala Harris if that's their non-sticking point. They're just not going to vote at all. Like, I would assume in some of the states where they're at, you don't even need their vote to win. Like, maybe Georgia, but I would think that based on what the numbers say right now, I would assume that the black male vote for Trump has flipped enough, especially in Georgia, where there's a large people of color black population, that male black vote has flipped enough where you're going to win Georgia anyway. So why not just come out and say exactly what you mean? Because then whenever it comes around and J.D. Vance, let's say Trump wins and J.D. Vance comes and runs again in 40 years, like, now he has a strong position in those middle-class white women of Illinois and Indiana that will not vote for Trump because he said silly things or whatever else. Like, you could easily sway the vote and easily win, because most people do not agree with a lot of this rhetoric that is being portrayed by Kamala Harris, and especially the ones like Ilha Omar, I butchered her name, Omar, and Nashida, and even super liberal. So this top loader has some crap. I'm just trying to get it out. Kamala Harris. So why not just come out and knock out that one point that's, like, holding you back? I don't understand, man. Well, yes, the squad, but they're not much of a squad now. I haven't really heard about much about them at all. We have Churio. But it just sets you up for like long-term success. We got Florence on the silver Toilet. I don't know why they don't just. Yeah, I don't know why they don't just come out and give their exact stance on it. Because, I mean, Trump has, and, like, just no one listens to Trump when it comes to stuff like that, especially not on the left. So, like, you'd have to have, like, a Vance or whoever else. Also, I think we're just going to run the random tomorrow. We'll probably run the random tomorrow, because by the time I'm done with this and set everything up, this is going to be, like, 1:30. Which I don't have an issue with running anything and keep bullshitting or whatever, but I know there are some guys that probably want to watch that live. It'll also allow me to set up nice for tomorrow on hopefully the Star Wars fills or Star Wars stuff. I don't know if we have any Star Wars fans in here. I have to message Mike Fickey and tell him to get his ass in the break. We have a Rosarena on the green for the Rays. We have Castellanos. I know part of it's me talking, which is why it took longer than maybe it should have, because I didn't like power through it, but man, I know I talked to somebody today and he said that he thinks the polls are inaccurate and that Kamala Harris will blow Trump out of the water. That they're not taking into account that some other, I don't know. I mean, I didn't agree with what he said, but he was pretty much like they didn't take into account the fact that she came 6 months out and that he thinks Republicans. Oh, I don't care, Sean. I was going to say, I'd rather talk about this than sit here and, especially for Allen and Ginter, than just say the card names over and over again and listen to me mouth breathe into the mic. We're going to have Starling Marte for the Mets on the memorabilia, but yeah, he was pretty much saying that he thinks that the polls are actually, like, the people are saying they're even, but they're miscalculating them in that Kamala Harris isn't doing as poorly as she says. Well, that's the problem, Stanley, is there's people literally just voting against Trump because they don't like Trump. Which is fine. I mean, I understand that perspective, I guess. I think Trump's policies are good. I think he's not a polished politician. I kind of think he says a lot of stuff that makes him sound like a dipshit, but so that's what he's saying. He says, pretty much the person I talked to was like, you can't base the polls off of history because it's a unique situation in the fact that the candidate was switched out, Ohtani, and it's technically an incumbent candidate, but it's not really an incumbent candidate because a lot of the comparisons are using for an incumbent candidate, but Kamala Harris isn't the incumbent. She's actually, like, yeah, she's the vice president, the vice president, but she's not the incumbent compared to, like, Biden's technically the incumbent, which he would get smoked, right? I mean, we're definitely not gonna have a booklet in this one, Big Red, because we don't have enough. There's not. I can tell you right now. This is the last memorabilia right here. Garrett Cole. Not enough thickness in my hands. I don't even know what I said, Sean, that you're disagreeing, and you'd have to remind me. I was thinking about booklets. I never put a booklet in Allen and Ginter. This is the third year I'm breaking Allen and Ginter, and I haven't broke a shit ton of cases, but enough to where, like, you would think I'd get a booklet. I had never gotten a booklet ever, an Allen and Ginter ever. So never ever. I've opened enough. Alan Ginter to at least make it interesting. But oh yeah, I disagree too with that. That was like my biggest point. Is I was like, well, like historically, Republicans don't come out and vote in early voting, and they're coming out and they're either voting in early voting and crushing it, or they're just naturally coming out more. So does that mean that they're still going to have a strong push on election day, or is it going to be like split? I personally don't think it's the norm for them to come out in early vote, and I think it shows that the Democrats are going to get smoked. But that's just my opinion. We have John Daly. I don't know how true that is or not true. We have Rendon, Otani on the refractor, Moreno, Austin Martin, Suzuki, Mountcastle. We're going to have Tatis Jr., Lofton, Torres. We got Paul Skeens, Shiano, Smith-Sauer, Friedel, and then we're going to have Garrett Cole on the memorabilia. Doing a recap of the hits, by the way. I probably should have said that. We're going to have Starling Marte, Arosa Reyna. We have David Ortiz, Skeens, Jimmy Rollins, Bellinger, Jaloff, Freeman. We're going to have Holland, Trout on the memorabilia. We're going to have the foil, Paul Skeens. Actually, this might be a chrome card. I think this is actually the chrome card. We have Taveras, Castellanos, McCutcheon on the memorabilia, Green on the memorabilia, and Jake Cronenworth. Alex Rodriguez on the memorabilia. We have Matos on the refractor. Whitmore on the memorabilia. Witt Jr., Keith on the refractor, and Andy Pettit. And get into what's on the hit board. Pena, Trey Turner, Barry Larkin, Carroll. We have Shiano, Mike Trout. We have Guerrero Jr. We have Tenna, Holiday, Merrill. My biggest thing too is like I've been trolling people with immigration. Like I'm obviously not anti-immigration. Like I think we definitely need to have immigration. But every time people bring up like Elon Musk and Melania is like the perfect example why you need to have strict immigration laws, I said, oh, you mean like, yeah, net positive immigrants. I love it. We have Casas, Soto, Semien, Jim Abbott, Kaczynski, Rodriguez. We're going to have the 101 printing plate Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger on the mini card out of 50. We have Abbott on the autograph and White on the gold foilie. Like, I want immigrants to come to the country. I just want them to be contributors. Like I don't give a shit. We could have 2 million people come every year. I don't care. As long as you're going to contribute to as long as you're going to come and contribute to the United States in some way or form and do it legally, I don't give a shit. That's another thing. I don't think any conservative cares if we have immigrants. They just want them to come over by legal means. And I think a lot of people just want people to follow the fucking rules. Like I don't think it's that hard. And then the worst part is like, look, man, I'm just saying. Obviously, that's the break. I'm going on a little rant here. And, okay, first off, the cat eating shit's like, that's the stupid shit that Trump says, though, Stanley. That's why, like, people were like, talking about fucking eating cats. Like, he ain't no fucking cats. That was, like, so fucking stupid. That he even said that. Like, he got baited so hard. Like, how the fuck do you let Kamala, I can't even talk in a fucking goddamn debate, get baited like that? How? How could he let that happen? So dumb. Have some self-control. Fucking dummy. Anyway, that's chat that I want to like punch him through the TV. I'm probably knock him out and then have to get in trouble for fucking beating up a senior citizen, but whatever. Shit, what rant was I gonna go on? Oh man, I don't even know what I was gonna say now. That whole situation with the cats thing, like so dumb. He got baited by somebody that's not even a good debater. Just so dumb. So stupid. Like, why would he even do that? But, oh, man, what was I going to say? Oh, man. I know we were talking about immigration, but I can't even think about what I was going to say now. I'm probably going to think about it as soon as I get off camera, too, and be like, oh, I should have said that. But, Yeah, man, the break's over. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. I appreciate y'all for this conversation. Everybody, hey, congratulations. Those that didn't have. Hopefully, you guys have better luck next time. I think I'm just gonna run the other break at night. Tomorrow night, probably run it early. I might even try to come and do it during. I can't do it during lunch because of Fanatics Live and I don't have double spaces. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all as always. Man, I'd really try. I'm trying to like think about what I was gonna say, but I don't know. We can always talk about anything. I was gonna say I'm much more for talking than just sitting there and saying random cards. You guys have a good night. Be safe. I will catch y'all tomorrow. But yeah, tomorrow Star Wars. If you're a Star Wars fan, please show up. Galaxy will probably be random letters. I'll make it as affordable as possible. The boxes will definitely go up in price long term. So if you are a Star Wars fan and you do want to get into some of the Star Wars Galaxy Chrome, make sure that you do it tomorrow or with me. And stop cheating on me with Nick, Sean. It's rude. I actually don't care. It's actually funny that you and Stanley are like getting the breaks. There used to be another, because I know Stanley's, I'm assuming, usually from Texas. As in, I'm assuming Stanley like grew up in Texas, right? Being that you guys are Rangers fans. But there's another two guys that were in my group that I was really just trying to look out for the guy, and be like, hey man, like the breaks you're getting and the guy's like overcharging you by like a lot. And the dude blocked me. He was like, don't tell me how to spend my money. I was like, I'm not telling you I'm not telling you how to spend your money. Like the dude is like literally you're paying. He was always buying the Yankees, and I was like, dude, you're overpaying for the Yankees. Yeah, I'm assuming you work at Maxwell. I'm assuming that's where you work at, right? Or do you work for the little offsuit where they do all the energy stuff? I'm not going to name the name because I don't know if the name is allowed to be. We might use the same name that I'm not sure if everyone's allowed to know the name or not, but okay, Redstone. There's another like energy place that I can't. I know what they call it, but I don't know if that's like the name that everybody's allowed, like supposed to call it by, so I can't say, but I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. But I used to go down there for work to deal with some energy stuff because I was on a lot of special access program stuff, so, and Army acquisitions at one point in time. But, anyways, you guys have a good night. I will catch y'all tomorrow. Be safe. Hopefully everybody had a good Halloween and a good start to November tonight. Oh, nice. I was going to say, I work in cybersecurity, so, you know, the annoying fucking guy that tells you to square your fucking software up because we have to get it to make a SCAP scan say over 90%. Just... Anyways, you guys have a good night, man. Be safe. I'll catch y'all later.